I am sitting on the hospital bed, still shaking, still in pain, when the nurse pulls me aside and whispers something that stops my heart cold. "Did your husband approve the medication change?" I stare at her. My mouth opens but nothing comes out. I do not even understand the question fully. What medication change? I was in labor for 19 hours. I was exhausted and terrified and screaming. I had trusted the people in those scrubs to take care of me. Before I can say a single word, she glances over my shoulder at my husband, Derek, who is standing near the window scrolling through his phone like we are waiting for a table at a restaurant. Then she looks back at me. Very slowly, almost carefully, she shakes her head. It is such a small movement. Just a slight tilt back and forth. But the look in her eyes when she does it is not small at all. It is the look of someone who has seen something they cannot say out loud. Derek laughs from across the room without even looking up. She's overreacting again. She does this. The nurse says nothing. She does not smile. She just glances at the folder in her hand and walks out, and I am left sitting there wondering what exactly my husband approved without asking me. Before we continue with our story, please like and comment the time you are watching this story, and also hit the subscribe button if you like stories like this. The rest of that morning moves in a blur of beeping machines and soft footsteps outside my door. My body aches in ways I did not know were possible. I had just given birth to our daughter, Nora, and instead of feeling joy, I feel something cold and uneasy sitting in my chest. Derek stands beside my bed and talks to the doctors with this calm, reasonable voice he uses when he wants people to like him. He answers their questions. He nods. He puts his hand on my shoulder in a way that looks kind from the outside but feels like a warning. When I try to speak, he cuts in smoothly. She's still in a lot of pain. She gets confused when she's overwhelmed. The doctor glances at me briefly, then nods at Derek. I am not confused. I am terrified. The nurse from earlier, whose name tag reads Patricia, comes back to check my for. Derek steps out to take a phone call, and the moment the door closes, she moves quickly. She folds a small piece of paper and slides it under my hand on the mattress without looking at me directly. I wait until she steps back before I look down. My hands are trembling as I unfold it. The handwriting is small and tight, like someone who did not want to use too many words. Asked to see your full chart. Loan. I press the note flat against my thigh under the blanket and wait. My pulse is beating fast. Faster than it should be after everything my body just went through. Keep my face calm. I have been practicing keeping my face calm around Derek for about 2 years now. When he comes back, he is smiling. Your mom called. I told her everything went fine. I'd like to see my chart, I say. The smile stays on his face, but his eyes do something different. They tighten. Just slightly. Why? Because it's my chart. He crosses to the small table by the window and picks up the folder sitting there before I can reach it. You don't need to stress yourself out reading medical paperwork right now, Amber. You just had a baby. Derek, give me the folder. He laughs, but it does not sound like a real laugh. See, this is what I mean. You get fixated on things. I stand up, even though my legs are weak, and I hold out my hand. He looks at me for a long moment and then something happens. His jaw tightens. He holds the folder out toward me, but as I reach for it, he does not let go immediately. Then I see it. Right there on the top form. A signature on a consent line where my name should be. The signature is not mine. My handwriting is small and looped. I have signed my name the same way since I was 12 years old. The signature on that form is nothing like mine. It is rushed and angular, and it sits under a line that reads patient consent for medication adjustment during labor. Why is your signature on my consent form? Yes. Derek does not even flinch. He has an answer ready, like he has been waiting for the question. You were in crisis, Amber. You were screaming and panicking. The doctor needed a decision fast, and you were not in a state to make one. I did what any husband would do. I was not unconscious, I say. I remember everything. I remember every single minute of that room. You were hysterical. I was in labor. He shakes his head slowly. wearing that patient expression he puts on when he wants to seem like the reasonable one. I was trying to help you. The doctors agreed it was the right call. But something about the way he says it is too smooth, too prepared, like he has rehearsed this exact conversation. I close the folder and hold it against my chest. My hands are still shaking, but my mind is suddenly very, very clear. If he signed one form without my knowledge, what else has he signed? I am still holding the folder when the door opens and Derek's mother, Vivian, walks in. She is a tall woman with silver hair cut short and sharp, and she always dresses like she is going somewhere important. She carries herself the way people do when they have spent their whole lives being listened to. She smiles at me the way you smile at a child who has just done something disappointing. There she is, she says warmly, like we are old friends. How are we feeling? Tired, I say. Of course. She sets a gift bag on the chair and smooths the front of her jacket. Having a baby is overwhelming for any woman. Some women handle it more gracefully than others. I look at Derek. He says nothing. He does not defend me. He does not even look uncomfortable. He just leans against the wall with his arms folded. Vivian moves around the bed and adjusts the pillow behind my back without asking if I want her to. What matters now is that the baby is healthy and that everyone stays calm. She says the word calm the way people say it when they really mean quiet. Then she looks at Derek, and something passes between them. Not words, just a look. The kind that means a conversation already happened somewhere else, without me. Vivian steps out first, saying she is going to find coffee. Derek follows her into the hallway, pulling the door almost shut but not completely. I sit very still and listen. Their voices are low, but the hospital is quiet, and the gap in the door carries sound like a tunnel. Vivian's voice first. The doctor already has the notes. Everything is in place. Then Derek. She's asking questions. Let her ask. The documentation is solid. She's not going to walk out of here looking like the stable one. Then Vivian again, softer now. You did the right thing. She's not stable enough. We both know that. We've always known that. I press my back against the headboard and stare at the ceiling. My breathing is very controlled. I am counting. I learned to do that 2 years ago when Derek first started making me feel like the walls were closing in. Not stable enough. Those words are not a reaction to today. They are not about labor or pain or exhaustion. They sound like the end of a plan. Like a conclusion someone reached a long time ago and has been quietly building toward ever since. My heart hammers in my chest. What decision have they already made? Patricia comes in at noon to check my blood pressure. She reads the numbers, writes them down, and does not say anything unusual. But when she finishes, I ask the question that has been sitting on my tongue for hours. Can I hold Nora now? She does not answer right away. She adjusts the cuff on the stand, smooths the edge of the blanket, takes a small breath. The pediatric team is just doing a few more checks, she says carefully. They've been doing checks since this morning. She was healthy. The APGAR score was good. I heard them say so. Derek steps in from where he has been standing near the window. You need to rest first, Amber. Your body went through a lot. Nora is being well looked after. I want to see my daughter. And you will, he says. When you've calmed down. I look at Patricia. She is looking at her clipboard. Her expression is neutral, but her jaw is tight. She knows something. I can feel it the way you can feel a storm coming before the sky changes color. She walks out without meeting my eyes, and I am left sitting in a hospital room, 1 floor away from my newborn baby, being told to wait by the man who signed my name on a form I never saw. 2 hours pass. I watch the door. I watch the clock on the wall. Every time a nurse walks by, I sit up straighter, hoping it is Patricia. When she finally comes back, she does not come in casually. She enters quickly, closes the door behind her with a soft click, and checks the small window in the door before she turns to face me. She speaks in a whisper, standing close enough that I can see the tiredness around her eyes. Mrs. Amber, I need you to hear me clearly. Your husband went to the nursing station this morning before you woke up. He spoke to the charge nurse and the attending physician. He requested limited maternal contact. The room tilts. He said you had shown signs of emotional instability during pregnancy and that he was concerned about the baby's safety. Cannot speak. The words land one by one like stones dropped into still water. The request was logged, Patricia continues, her voice dropping even lower. It has not been formally approved, but it is being treated as guidance while the attending reviews it. She looks at the door again. I should not be telling you this, she says. But you deserve to know what is happening in your own chart. Who requested limited contact with my own baby? My husband. And on what grounds? Grounds that he built. Quietly. Carefully. Without me knowing. I ask Patricia to stay, but she shakes her head and slips out before Derek comes back from the cafeteria. I sit with what she told me and try to make it fit together into something that makes sense. When Derek returns, I look at him differently. I look at the way he holds his coffee cup, the way he sits, the way he checks his phone and then sets it face down on the table. I am looking for the person who would do this, and I am finding him. Did you tell the doctors I was unstable during pregnancy? Yes. He does not look surprised. He sets his cup down slowly. I told them the truth, that you struggled, that you had some dark moments, that I was worried about you. You called me unstable. I said you were struggling. There's a difference. Then Vivian, who has been sitting quietly in the corner reading something on her phone, looks up. Derek was very concerned, Amber. We both were. Remember when you didn't leave the apartment for 2 weeks in February? When you cried every day for a month? I was pregnant and lonely and you were never home, I say to Derek. We're just being honest about what we saw, Vivian says softly. For the baby's sake. They have twisted every hard moment into evidence. They have taken every tear and every bad day and turned it into a case. Derek sits beside my bed for the rest of the afternoon, and every time I speak, something strange happens. Every word I say seems to work against me. When I say I am frustrated, he sighs and says quietly, "See, this is what I've been dealing with." When I ask for water, he asks a passing nurse if I seem agitated to her. When I say his name too sharply, he holds up both hands and says, "I'm just trying to help, Amber. You're scaring me right now." He does it so smoothly, so gently. Each move is small on its own, but together they are building a wall around me, brick by brick. He is making himself look patient and worried, and he is making me look unstable, and the worst part is that it is working. I see the doctor pause near the door, watching me with an uncertain expression. He looked at me differently this morning. Straightforward, clinical, professional. Now he looks at me the way people look at someone who might tip over. Take a breath. I make my voice very flat and even. I am not agitated. I am asking reasonable questions about my own care. Derek shakes his head slowly like I have just proven his point. I feel the walls closing. Am I being set up? The answer sitting in my chest already knows. Late that night, after Derek falls asleep in the recliner chair, Patricia comes in for her final check before her shift ends. She moves quietly, checking machines, adjusting things that do not need adjusting. Then she slides a folded document under my water cup and walks out. I wait 3 minutes. I unfold it. It is a copy of a behavioral report. My name is at the top. Under reason for report it reads, patient demonstrated signs of emotional dysregulation. Raised voice. Refused guidance from medical team. Expressed paranoia regarding treatment decisions. None of it is true. I never raised my voice at the medical team. I asked to see my chart. I asked to hold my baby. I asked questions that any mother in my position would ask. But the report is written in clinical language, and it sounds real. And it is sitting in my file making me look like a danger to my own child. At the bottom, under the line that reads reported by, there is a name. Derek Cole. My husband. He created a document. He signed it. He filed it with the hospital before I was even fully awake. This is not just control. This is a paper trail. This is documentation built to survive a courtroom. The next morning I decide I am done waiting. pull back the covers. My legs ache and my whole body is sore, but I stand up. I put on my slippers and I walk to the door. I am going to the nursery. I am going to hold my daughter. Derek is awake instantly. I do not know how, but he is out of that chair before I reach the door. Amber, get back in bed. I'm going to see Nora. You are not cleared to. I do not need to be cleared to see my own child, I say, and my voice comes out louder than I intend. The door is open now, and a nurse at the station looks up. Derek steps close to me, very close, and drops his voice low. If you walk out of this room like this, you are going to make things a lot worse for yourself. I promise you that. He says it like a warning, like the kind of thing you say to someone you are certain you have power over. His eyes are flat and steady and utterly calm. Don't ruin this for yourself, he says quietly. Cold wave moves through me. What does that mean? What happens if I do not comply? What exactly has he put in place that I still do not know about? I step back from the door. Not because I am afraid. 'Cause I need to think. I go back to the bed and sit down, and I hear Derek exhale slowly behind me like he has just finished something unpleasant. He goes back to his chair. Within minutes his breathing evens out again. I stare at the ceiling. Around noon a different nurse comes in. Her name tag says Diane, and she is older, with kind eyes and gray streaks in her hair. She takes my temperature and checks my stitches and does not say anything for a long moment. Then she says, very quietly without looking at me, I was outside the room this morning. I say nothing. I heard what he said to you. I still say nothing. She finishes writing in her notes and snaps the cap back on her pen. There are people in this building who can help you. But you have to ask for the right kind of help. She places her clipboard down and slides a desk phone toward me across the rolling table. You should make a phone call. Your choice who you call. But make it now while he's asleep. She walks out. My hands are shaking again, but differently this time. Not from fear. Pick up the phone. I dial my sister Cleo's number. The phone rings twice. Then I hear Cleo's voice, low and a little sleepy, and something in my chest unravels the smallest amount just from the sound of it. Cleo, I say, and I keep my voice barely above a whisper. I need you to listen to me very carefully, and I need you not to react out loud. Then she says, okay. I tell her everything. The note from Patricia. The signature on the consent form. The behavioral report. What Derek said this morning. The limited contact request. All of it. I speak in short, fast sentences, watching Derek the whole time. When I finish, Cleo is silent for a long moment. Not the silence of someone who is shocked. The silence of someone who is thinking carefully. Then she says quietly, Amber, I need to tell you something. What? I knew something was off with him. I've known for a while. I just didn't know how to say it without you thinking I was being dramatic. What did you notice? I'll tell you everything when I see you. But right now, I want you to know I'm already in the car. And I've been suspicious for a lot longer than today. Cleo arrives at the hospital 3 hours later. She does not come in alone. She has been on the phone the whole drive, and by the time she walks through my room door, she has already made 2 stops. She comes in, looks at Derek sitting in his chair, and says pleasantly, Hey Derek, can you give us a minute? Sister stuff. He looks at her for a moment, calculating, then smiles and says he will go get lunch. The door closes. Cleo drops into the chair across from my bed and leans forward with her elbows on her knees. I looked him up, she says. His ex-wife. Her name is Naomi. She left him 4 years ago. Everyone in his family said she had a breakdown, that she became paranoid and unstable and could not care for herself. Feel the room shift. But I found her online 6 months ago. She has a job. She runs a small business. She seems completely fine. Cleo pauses. Nobody ever questioned the story Derek told. They all just believed him. The pattern is forming right in front of me. Solid and undeniable. Derek comes back from lunch. Derek had done this before. He has a
He had
coffee
taken
for
another
me,
woman
which he
and
turns
turned
on
her
the
real
table with a
emotions
smile.
into a story that
He
made
asks
him
if
look like the
Cleo
victim
and I had a good
and her
talk.
look like the problem.
He is warm.
He had
Easy,
practiced this.
normal.
On Naomi
That is the
first.
thing about
And
Derek.
now on me.
He can switch. I wait until he sits down. Then I say, I know about Naomi. Something happens to his face. It is fast, barely a second, but I catch it. Flicker. Like a light blinking off and on. His expression does not fall apart. He is too controlled for that. But for one small moment, the mask slips just enough. He sets his coffee cup down. He looks at his hands. Then he looks at me with an expression I have never seen on him before. Not anger. Not denial. Something quieter and colder. Naomi was very sick, he says. Or maybe she just asked too many questions, I say. He tilts his head slightly. That's not fair. Neither is signing my name on a hospital form. The room is very still. Cleo is in the corner with her phone in her hand. Derek looks at her. Then back at me. Then he says something softly, almost to himself, like he is not quite talking to either of us. I'm just protecting what's mine. I replay those words for the rest of the afternoon. Protecting what's mine. Not protecting you. Not protecting Nora. What is mine? Like Nora and I are objects in a collection. Things that belong to him. Vivian comes back at 4 o'clock. She knocks and enters without waiting for an answer, which she always does, and she smiles at me with that soft, pitying look she has been wearing since she arrived. Derek leaves to take a call, and for the first time, Vivian and I are alone in the room. She sits down, crosses her legs, and looks at me with an expression that is suddenly very honest. We never thought you were the right person for Derek, she says. Plainly. Like she has been waiting years to say it out loud. He needs someone steady. Someone who does not need to be managed. You planned this, I say. Before Nora was even born. She does not deny it. She smooths the fabric of her sleeve and says, we wanted to make sure the baby was in the right hands. We made arrangements. Spoke to the right people. Made sure there was documentation. She looks at me with something almost like sympathy. It was not personal, Amber. It was practical. They had planned this from the beginning. Long before I went into labor. Long before that morning. Cleo sends me a text at 5 o'clock, she's here. Coming in now. 2 minutes later, Cleo walks back into my room with a woman named Tara beside her. Tara is maybe 40, with reading glasses pushed up on her head and a leather bag over one shoulder. She introduces herself as a family law attorney. Derek stands up immediately. Who is this? My sister's guest, Cleo says calmly. This is a private family matter. Exactly, Tara says, already opening her bag. Which is why your wife has every right to legal counsel. She looks at me. Mrs. Cole, I've been briefed. I'd like to formally request access to all documentation filed in your name or about you during this admission. Derek's voice sharpens. You have no standing here. I have standing anywhere my client invites me, Tara says without looking up from her notepad. Then she turns to the door and addresses the charge nurse who has been hovering in the hall. We will need a patient advocate present as well, please. And we'd like all consent forms, behavioral reports, and physician notes related to this patient pulled for review. The charge nurse nods slowly and moves down the hall. The power in the room has shifted. Can feel it. Derek is still standing, but he is no longer the one in charge of the story. Patricia's shift had ended, but someone called her. She comes back in civilian clothes, her hair down, and she walks in like a person who has already decided something. She addresses the attending physician directly, with Tara present and the charge nurse taking notes. Her voice is steady and professional. I have concerns about the validity of behavioral documentation filed by the patient's husband during this admission, she says. I witnessed the patient interacting with medical staff throughout today and yesterday. Her behavior was appropriate, calm, and within normal range for a postpartum patient. The report on file does not reflect what I personally observed. The attending looks at the report. He looks at Patricia. He looks at Derek. Derek opens his mouth, then closes it. Vivian says. This nurse is clearly overstepping. With respect, Tara cuts in. This nurse is doing exactly what she is trained to do. She is flagging a potential safeguarding concern. The attending physician sets the report down on the rolling table and pushes his glasses up. He is quiet for a moment. Then he says, I think we need to pause and do a more thorough review of this documentation before we proceed with anything. Others are listening now. The room is very different from yesterday morning. Other nurses have stopped outside the door. The truth is surfacing. Slowly, like something heavy rising from deep water. Derek tries twice more to control the room. The first time, he asks the attending if they can speak privately. The attending says they will do that after the review is complete. The second time, he suggests that bringing in an attorney is a sign that I am being manipulated by my sister, who has never liked him. He says it with a practiced sadness, like someone who is genuinely hurt. The attending listens politely. Then he looks down at the consent form with the wrong signature and says, Mr. Cole, can you explain the authorization here? Derek explains again. The labor crisis. The fast decision. The best interests of the patient. The attending nods slowly. That is not how authorization works in this hospital. A verbal request during distress is not valid consent. Signing on a patient's behalf without a legal power of attorney or prior documented agreement is not standard protocol. Pauses. In fact, it may not be legal. Vivian stands up. That is absolutely ridiculous. He is her husband. He is not her legal guardian, Tara says. The room goes completely quiet. Derek is standing near the window. He is very still. For the first time since I woke up in this hospital, he does not have an answer ready. The review takes 2 hours. Tara stays with me the entire time. She has requested every form, every note, every log entry connected to my name since I was admitted. The hospital's patient advocate, a quiet man named Mr. Obi, sits at the table with her, going through pages one by one. At some point, Mr. Obi holds up a form and says, This timestamp doesn't match. Tara leans over. The behavioral report is dated yesterday at 6 a.m. But the patient was not admitted until 7:14 a.m. The room goes still. A report that was filed before I was even fully admitted. A report with inconsistent timestamps. A report signed by my husband describing behavior that, according to Patricia and 2 other nurses, never happened. Tara looks at me. This is not just manipulation, she says quietly. Filing a false report in a medical record is fraud. Depending on the intent behind it, it could also constitute attempted coercion to restrict parental rights. Mr. Obi speaks carefully. We will need to flag this for hospital administration and the medical ethics board. The attending physician has not said anything for several minutes. He is looking at the forms laid out on the table, and his expression is the expression of a man who realizes he almost let something very wrong happen inside his own hospital. At 6:30 in the evening, a nurse I have not met before wheels a bassinet through my door. Nora is asleep inside it, wrapped in a white blanket with tiny yellow stars. Her face is round and soft and perfect. Her hands are curled up near her chin like small flowers. I do not say anything. I reach into the bassinet and lift her very carefully, and I hold her against my chest. She is warm and real, and she smells like something I do not have words for. Breathe in. Breathe out. The shaking in my hands that has not stopped since yesterday finally stops. Cleo is crying quietly in the corner. Even Tara looks away for a moment. I look up. Derek is standing near the door watching. His arms are folded across his chest. He is very still and very quiet. He does not congratulate me or smile or say anything warm. He looks like someone watching a plan come apart. He looks like someone doing math in his head, trying to find the angle that still works. There is no angle left. He knows it. I can see it in the way he is standing. He is losing, and for the first time in what I suspect has been a very long time, he has no move to make. The next morning, hospital administration sends 2 people to my room. They are polite and careful in the way that professionals are when something has gone very wrong and they are trying to manage it quietly. They ask Derek to step outside. He argues briefly, then looks at Tara, who looks back at him with total calm, and he goes. Vivian tries to follow him out and speak to the administrator in the hallway. The administrator listens for approximately 30 seconds and then says, "Ma'am, this is a patient matter. I need you to wait in the family lounge." Vivian's mouth opens. Then she closes it. Then she walks down the hall, and I watch the set of her shoulders, and I see something I have never seen on Vivian before. She looks small. Inside my room, the administrator sits across from me and Tara and explains that the documentation has been flagged, that the consent forms are being reviewed by the hospital's legal team, and that a formal inquiry has been opened into the behavioral report and the request for limited maternal contact. "Your access to your daughter will not be restricted," he says. "That request has been formally withdrawn from your file." I nod. Keep my face neutral. But under my blanket, I am holding Nora's small hand, and I press my thumb gently against her tiny fingers. Derek comes back into my room at noon. He is alone. Vivian has not returned since the administrator sent her to the family lounge. He sits in the chair near the window. He does not look at me right away. He looks at his hands. He looks at the floor. He looks like someone who has been running a long time and has just stopped. When he finally speaks, his voice is different. Not the smooth, practiced tone. Not the patient, reasonable voice he uses for doctors and nurses. Just flat and tired. "We can fix this," he says. "I'll talk to the attorney. I'll explain what happened. We can walk back some of the documentation." "You cannot walk back fraud," I say. "I was trying to protect my family. You were trying to control it." He leans forward and puts his head in his hands, and for a moment he almost looks like a person in real pain. But I have learned something in the past 2 days. Derek is very good at looking like a person who is suffering. It is one of the tools he uses. I look at him evenly. "You already did," I say. "You already blew everything up. The moment you signed my name." He stares at me. He does not have an answer for that. For the first time, he does not have anything left to say. 3 days later, I walk out of the hospital. Nora is in the car seat Cleo bought, buckled incorrectly, facing backward, exactly the way the nurses showed me. I carry my overnight bag over one shoulder. Tara walks beside me with her leather bag, reviewing paperwork. Cleo holds the door. The hallway is quiet and bright. The floors are the pale blue-gray of every hospital I have ever been in, and the lights hum softly above us. Patricia is at the nursing station when we pass. She looks up from her computer. I stop walking for a moment. I remember the first time I saw her face. The way she had looked at Derek, then back at me and shaken her head. That small, careful movement that told me something was very wrong before I had the words to say what it was. Before I had proof of anything. Just her eyes, and the quiet courage it took to slip a folded note under my hand. This time she looks at me differently. She nods. Just once. Slow and steady, the way you nod at someone who did something hard and did it well. You nod back. Then I walk through the automatic doors and into the open air. The sun is out. Nora makes a soft sound against my chest. They tried to make me look weak. They tried to make me look unstable and irrational and dangerous to my own child. They built paperwork and reports and quiet conversations in hallways. They had a plan. They had practiced it. But they made one mistake. They forgot that I was the one who was actually there. Present and awake and paying attention, even when I was exhausted and in pain and afraid. They thought fear would make me small. Instead, it made me sharp. The one thing Derek could never sign away, never document out of existence, never take from me no matter how many forms he filed, was my voice. Kept it. Through all of it. Kept it. And I used it.